Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Just In Case. Today we are going to be taking my old computer, and it'll still be my computer, but we're going to put it in a new case.
Woo! Stoked.
So, here we have the Cougar Panzer Max, and this is the Cougar Conquer. It's their new case, their tempered glass case. Very open design, and so we're going to see if we can just cram what's already in here into this case. So, should be pretty good. We're excited to see this case. In our last video we did the unboxing. Cody wasn't there. He's pretty bitter about that. But we talked about some of the things that we're going to talk about in this video, which are how things mount in this case. The motherboard mounts crooked, so that'll be interesting. And then it's got, instead of mounting the power supply in the back, it mounts up in the front towards the bottom. And then there's not really a lot going on in the back. So we'll see how that turns out and kind of walk you guys through it as we do it. But
Should be fun.
yeah, let's do it. Alright guys, so we finally got this swapped over. We learned a lot about this case. Everything did fit from the old case, which we had the Cooler Master V8 CPU cooler in here, which was massive, and I was worried it wasn't going to fit. We had an AIO as a backup, but it did fit, and there's plenty of clearance between it and the glass. I mean, not a ton, but a little bit. So, Cody, why don't you tell us some of the things we found out as we built this case?
So number one, so this is all aluminum. So anytime you touch it, there's gonna be fingerprints left on it. So you kind of have to be careful about that. And as far as building in it, so this thing looks phenomenal right now. Like, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous system. But I'm not gonna lie, building in it, meh. It was pretty difficult at times, and it really kind of felt more like a prototype versus like a finished product. There was like things that were missing that could have been there. The instructions were really unclear. Like, they gave you picture step-by-step instructions on how to do what. But the issue is this is a black case, and since it was black and white, they didn't like up the white balance or anything like that, so it just kind of looked like black mushy. So you're gonna have to figure out some things on your own. Once when you do get things figured out on your own though, it is really rewarding though, because as you can see, just absolutely phenomenally gorgeous.
So the first problem we ran into is on the back here where all the I/O is, where your graphics card goes in and stuff. They don't have any covers back there, so they didn't actually include any thumb screws to put your GPU in, or I have a Wi-Fi card in here right now, and so there was no thumb screws for those cards to secure them in. So we actually had to steal those from the Panzer Max case, which was fine. I mean, we had them, but it's just a pain that didn't come with this case, especially with how expensive it is. So next thing that we ran into a problem with was with our cable management. You can see in the back that there's a big space where it looks like cable should go, but it's not covered by the tempered glass. So after, we should have checked it first, but we didn't. And the cable, they do give you plenty of cable management, which is nice, and you can stick them on yourself wherever you want to. But we had already got it all stuck on. We should have checked. But there's really no other way to route this stuff, because The next thing we ran into was where the motherboard is crooked like this, it makes all your cables really stretch to make it to where they need to be. We had to get pretty creative with some of these cables, especially with the fans. We added 2 extra fans out of the Panzer Max case, and it was a struggle to find ways to get those in, so we had to get really creative with that. The CPU cable was barely long enough to plug into the power supply.
So extensions, like if that's something that's like you're kind of teetering back and forth on, I would definitely say get the colored extensions, just because A, it's going to make your build look better, but it's almost a necessity with this case. It's just everything is so stretched out. So
yeah, we made it work, but this is definitely a case that you want to be able to do higher end things like custom cables with custom lengths. You'll want to be able to take the time to actually do that and map it out really well. We didn't do that. We just used what we already had, and so we kind of had to route them in different ways. But if you can, definitely get those custom cables and figure out the lengths that you need, because that's really going to help you cable manage this case. The next thing that is a little weird is where the power supply is mounted and how it's mounted.
Yep.
So they give you a little shelf that hooks in, and I don't know if you can see, but the power supply mounts right here. And so they give you a little shelf, and then they give you a bracket that goes on the front of your power supply, and then the back end just sits on on that little rack, and then there's 2 screws in the front that holds the whole thing to the side of the computer. So it's really wobbly and not a sturdy power mount.
It's also not flush. I mean, it's a really small thing. Most people aren't going to notice, but when you're putting it in, like when you're used to other cases, when you put the power supply in, it's nice and flush against the floor of the case. In this situation, the 2 racks that you were putting it up against, like the screw holes versus the little platform that it has, it kind of is high centered and kind of sitting off of it a little bit. Again, not a big thing, and not like nobody's ever going to notice something that small, but it was just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, when you have a higher end case, you're kind of expecting everything to have a place and to fit perfect. And with this case, it's really hard to get things to have a place and to fit perfect. And so that was another problem we ran into. With the little shroud that it gives you for the power supply, it's really hard to get the power cable plugged in. You need to plug the power cable in first and then put that bracket on the front. As I found out, I had to take it all out and do that. But the other thing about the power supply is you can only mount it one way. And in our case, the bottom side is the side with the fan, and the top side has the sticker on it with all the information, which is a little bit ugly. And where this case is so open, I would have liked to put it fan up, and it doesn't give you that option. It can only mount one way, which is fan down.
So another scary thing about this case is, so then everything's aluminum, and unfortunately some of the time you have to, like, you know, put a part in, and there's a lot of aluminum scraping on aluminum, and this anodized finished is gorgeous. It looks so good, but it was so, it was stressful, like trying to put in, like, we have this 3.5-inch drive that we had to install, and to do that you have to slide it right up here, right in the front, tucked behind that shroud, and there's no pretty way of doing it. You have to scrape a little metal against a little bit of metal, and like,
yeah, makes you cringe. The other bad thing about how they mount the hard drive, you can see right here, they put the 2 black screws right on the orange, which, I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but I would have rather had orange screws or had it mount somewhere else. Just because that orange is definitely the focal point of the case, and then to have 2 black screw heads is kind of annoying. But I mean, we've kind of picked on this case a little bit and told you some of the weird things about it, but it is a nice case. It looks gorgeous. Once you get it actually built into the case, and once you get it set up the way you want to, it's definitely a nice case. It's airy, so it's really not going to matter how you have your fan set up. We have all of our fans as intake fans for this, because there's so many holes and everything is just wide open. So we're just pulling air straight in, and it's got all this room to come out the back. But yeah, the other thing we didn't mention is you can't put the I/O shield on the back on your motherboard. There's just nowhere to put that. It's all open back there. So be aware of that. Did we miss anything? It did come missing one piece of hardware, which is not a big deal, but one of the motherboard, what do you call it? The standoff. So it had all of them but one, which would normally go in the middle of the motherboard, and it came with a screw for it, but not the standoff. So we were missing one standoff, which isn't a huge deal. I mean, it's got the way we have it set up is just fine. We're not worried about it at all. But so, I mean, for what it is, it's a great case. I definitely think it could have been a little more thought out as far as cable management, how to do it. I get though they were trying to keep it super minimalistic on the design of this thing. So those are the only downsides. The upsides are it looks awesome. There's plenty of room for radiators, fans, whatever you want to put in this case. It's a pain to work on. After working in the Panzer Max, that case was huge and really easy to work in, and had plenty of room for everything. This one, everything fits, but it all fits in a weird way.
Fits in a weird way, and for it being open, it feels tight. Again, once when it's all put together, like, you're absolutely gonna love it. But just understand that there's gonna be a couple bumps in the road when you're building in this case. There's just some stuff that you gotta figure out on your own. There's gonna be some cringy moments that you're gonna have to go through. You're gonna have to wipe off some scratches. You're gonna have to wipe off the tempered glass from handling marks and stuff like that. But in the end, man, oh my goodness, this is the best looking case. So
yeah, definitely not a case for beginners.
no.
First off, if you watch the unboxing video, there's tons of assembly just to even get the case together. It comes all in pieces, and then to even get your components in and get them set up correctly, it's not easy. So definitely not a beginner case, but it is a gorgeous case. So definitely worth the extra time that it takes to get it set up and get it working right. The last thing I wanted to mention is it comes with orange fans, and they kind of negate the orange because as soon as you turn them on, they've got red LEDs. So instantly it turns that orange fan to a red fan. So
it worked out perfect for us because the rest of the components are already red, and so I mean it worked out. It's just kind of weird that orange is such like a big part of this case, and then they included orange fans that have red LEDs on them. So I don't know, just a little thing. So
yeah, so once it in the dark it's all red and it looks fine, and so I mean just something to be aware of. The fans are orange but they light up red. So but it worked out just fine for us. So anyways, we definitely recommend this case if you've got time and if you've got the budget to do it the right way. If not, stick with a nice case like the Panzer Max. It's a gorgeous case, easy to work in, and plenty of room for whatever you want to put in there. So anyways, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and we bring you more awesome videos.